I was in manual mode.
I love it. It feels so good.
This is a Mercedes AMG G63, otherwise known as the G Wagon, and it's my wife Cynthia's favorite vehicle. I don't know why, she just loves this thing. And she's been planning to join me to do a video of this G Wagon for a couple months. However, this week, due to some unforeseen circumstances, she is not able to join me today while we're filming this. Hopefully we'll get her in here later on in the review. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Last year we had a look at the new G Wagon, which has been totally redone after decades of using the same platform. And what a huge improvement. I mentioned back then, the vehicle's bigger, but not only that, it just drives so much better on road. And of course it has all that off-road goodness as well. As you can see, it still retains that nice boxy shape. You have these indicator lights right on the top of the fenders, which is really nice when you are off-roading. It gives you a sense of awareness of where your corners are. This one has optional 22-inch wheels. I love these 7-spoke wheels. They just really look like money. They got the knockoff middle section on there. You'll see the emblem. We have AMG, we have a V8 bi-turbo, so it's a 4-liter twin turbo on this. We'll talk about horsepower and torque in a little bit, but one thing you can't miss right here, you have dual exhaust side pipes on both sides. It's so cool and it sounds so good. One of the things that's most synonymous of the G Wagon, regardless of the age though, is what it sounds like when you open and close these doors. Listen to this. It is solid. It really feels like you're opening a tank and closing it. Open up the fuel filler. No surprise, this does take premium fuel, and fuel mileage is not great. We'll talk about that when we get inside, but that's no surprise either, is it? The side features large fender flares. You have a full-size spare tire in the back with the matching color-coded tire cover. Love that. You have a nice tow hook here. And what I like also is the backup camera is embedded inside the rear door, so it only comes out when you use it, and it just keeps it nice and clean, especially if you go off-roading with this, which I don't think for a new version of this, you're gonna take it off-road, but that's a whole other story. Open the rear door and you'll notice that there is some friction to this door because it's actually a friction hinge or the strut. So wherever you hold it, that's where it's going to stay unless you're on a steep incline, which it will actually open all the way. But a large, tall opening, very, very square, and that's what we mentioned on the last review that we did on the G550 is you don't have a lot of depth, but you definitely do have height. So taller items will fit in here without any issue at all. If you do need extra room, you can put down those rear seats. There is a sort of a small hump though, and there's also a built-in cargo cover as well. Let's take a look inside. All right, here we go. Ooh, you hear that? That is the locking mechanism on this G Wagon. You really feel like you have just been enclosed in a tank. You got great visibility, this big, huge windscreen in front of you. It's very vertical. You're essentially driving a big block, but this block is pretty quick. So what's under the hood? Let's get to some specs here. It's a 4-liter V8 twin turbo. It puts out 577 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. That's 161 more horsepower than the regular G550 G Wagon. Now this engine though is handcrafted. This is a true AMG, so one technician works on this one engine only, and he actually puts his name right on the engine here. So this will make a run to 100 kilometers an hour from zero in just 4.5 seconds. That is incredible. absolutely incredible. So power goes through a 9-speed TCT transmission, so it's a torque converter clutch transmission, and you have different drive modes, of course, like most vehicles have now. And to get that, let's say 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 time down, you can go into Sport Plus, and that's going to change the programming of that transmission. So let's just see here. We are at a stop right now, and you can hear the rumble. So this has the AMG exhaust as well. So when we put it into Sport Plus, it automatically went into like a more aggressive open tune. You can also manually control that on your middle console there. So you can just turn that exhaust there. Whoa, okay, all right. All right, okay, that's, it is a little slick out. Good thing we have the all-wheel drive. This is full-time all-wheel drive with a 2-speed transfer case, by the way. Just listen to this thing. It's so engaging. Most AMG vehicles are, seriously, but when you get a V8, there's just nothing better. It's so good. Although you're driving a pretty blocky, raised up SUV/truck, the ride is surprisingly refined. Right now it's a little bit choppy because we have it in Sport Plus, and that automatically adapts the suspension to definitely a more stiffer presence. If you want, you can control that in the middle console as well. I can put it right back into more of a comfort setting, even though our engine and transmission are set to Sport Plus right now. It just never gets old. Any V8 that sounds as good. Those side pipes are awesome. The adaptive suspension is standard on this G-Class. However, there is also a trail option you can get for this vehicle, and that enhances it even more so for off-road. Now, speaking of off-road, we did not have a chance to take this off-road. I have had a chance to take the previous generation of a couple of years ago out on a real tricky off-road course, and yeah, there is no doubt that this G Wagon is one of the most capable off-road vehicles on the road. You have 3 locking diffs, center, front, and rear, 2-speed transfer case, of course, great approach and departure angles. This thing, it's like a goat. It just climbs up anything. But truthfully, unless you're gonna find one of these as a used vehicle, maybe 10, 15 years old, most people are not going to be taking their brand new G63 off-road. Seriously, you just won't. But know that it is very capable. I said this before, for this generation of G Wagon, they have done such a good job improving this vehicle compared to the last generation. The last one, which lasted like decades long, they really didn't change pretty well anything on that vehicle, just some cosmetic things. When you were driving it on the street, that was its biggest downfall, in my opinion. Off-road, it was a beast, but on-road dynamics, it just wasn't comfortable. Basically, your steering wheel was like moving around all like this all the time. There was so much play in it. This one you could easily drive this every day. Like I said, I like the visibility out of here. You are nice and tall. I love those signal lights on top of the fender. As I mentioned, they're really handy, not just for off-road, but just even when you're in a shopping mall parking lot, to know the presence of where your corners are in the vehicle. It's really easy for that. This does have a pretty wide turning radius, though, just to be aware of that. It's not super sharp. It actually feels quite small compared to a larger SUV. And of course, if you want, you can go and put this into manual mode, where we could just shift with the paddles there. Yeah. Yeah, this is just so much fun. The transmission just shifts so quick. And one thing that I do have to mention, the brakes on this G Wagon. This is a heavy vehicle. They are not only powerful, but they are extremely progressive, really easy to just ease yourself into the braking, and they're very accurate. So I was doing some shots of just driving over the camera to get some underneath shots, and to be able to control a vehicle to go that slow with just the slightest amount of pressure is actually kind of tough, and it was actually quite easy with this vehicle. All right, I'm gonna leave it there for now. I'm gonna come back to this a little bit later in the week, and hopefully Cynthia can join us so we can get her thoughts on this vehicle, and we can talk a little bit more about the interior as well. Stay tuned. All right, look who we managed to get into the driver's seat. It was tough. This is the last day that we had it, and as I mentioned, Cynthia really was so excited to drive this vehicle. However, we had a little sick kid, and she's on the mends now, so we can go out a little bit. So
A tiny bit.
a tiny bit. See, she's feeling much better. So yeah, so this is a whole kind of a different video that we were expecting to do. So Cynthia, you waited a long time to drive this new G Wagon, especially a G63. Is it everything you imagine it to be?
Pretty much. Oh, finally! I can't tell you how excited I am. Behind the wheel, it feels amazing.
Well, you know, the first time you drove it was the previous generation, and I really didn't understand what you liked about that vehicle so much. I know there's a lot of badge appeal that belongs to this vehicle for sure, but it didn't drive very well on the road. I mentioned that, but you really stood to your guns and you really liked this vehicle. But this one, I can understand why a lot of people like this vehicle now, but the price of this is not for the faint-hearted. This new G63 starts at just under 212,000 Canadian dollars. And when you add some packages like we have right now, so let's talk about this interior. It has a G manufacturer interior, so you have different Napa leather seats. It has these inserts. We have massaging seats that are on right now. We have the two large screens here. Caitlin, what do you like about this roof? It's fuzzy. She likes this roof because it's fuzzy, because it has the dynamic or the Alcantara on it there. We have a little bit of garbage coming into the front. Oh yeah, feel that power. Whoa.
Race car.
It's a race car. How do you like the power?
I love the power. I love it.
You know what's crazy though is, even though this will run you almost $250,000, there is a lineup to buy these things. Like, we're talking, you know, a couple years, 2 or 3 year lineup to get one of these. And I don't know if it's still happening right now, but like about a year ago even, to buy one of these, a lot of the dealerships made you pay a security deposit of like $100,000 or up there, just so you would actually not export this vehicle out and sell it again to someone else. You know, and that's crazy. And you wouldn't get that money back for a year. You know, so you think about like $250,000, you know, plus tax, and then add another $100,000 on there. You know, you're looking at close to a $400,000 purchase for this vehicle.
400,000.
So, but everyone still wants one. It's crazy.
It's pretty irresistible.
You know, I
if you got that kind of money.
I kind of get it. You know, it's like I stopped by, you know, and at some friends' houses, and they just all gravitated toward this car. They absolutely loved it, everything all about it. And I'm like, okay, well, there is some appeal to it, that's for sure. So let's get to our likes and dislikes. Even though we're going to call it dislikes, some of them might not be dislikes. They're more like things that are on our wish list type of thing, you know, so they're not completely negative, but just things to be aware of. Let's start with the dislikes.
Well, I did notice that when I drive around with the kids, it's kind of inconvenient to always reach to my purse to try to get the key fob to open and lock the car.
Yep, so this does not have the keyless go like all these modern cars do with a proximity sensor where you just touch the door handle or grab the door handle, it unlocks. This $200,000+ vehicle does not have that because it has those great latches though, you know, the clunk clunk that we did, right?
But it does sound good and feels good. I assume people owning this car would definitely have a lot of other vehicles in their garage or driveways, and this is their just feel good car.
Feel good car, must be nice. Okay, another I'll add on to that dislike, of course, we mentioned it's the price. You know, it is really unobtainable for most people, especially when you add in the fact that if you have to pay a deposit and the waiting list, you know, like you mentioned, like, so you really have to have some nice other cars in your stables that you can actually wait a few years just to order one of these or get it.
And the second row, I know space has improved since the last gen, but it's still quite small for the passenger's back.
Yeah, it's not a large vehicle per se in general, right? Hey girls, can you stop punching, please? You see? Yeah, you see, it's actually not far for them to actually reach the front seats. That gives you an idea of how much room they have there. So that's not a great thing, but it's livable for sure. And one other little bit of a dislike or a wish, you know, of course, this is a 577 horsepower vehicle, so fuel economy, not great. Not great, you know. You're going to average around, you know, 19-20 liters per 100K. So yeah, there's a lot of other vehicles that get better gas mileage, but not that many that give you the experience that this one gives you. So let's get to the likes now.
Woohoo! Wait till my list's done. For me, I love the boxy styling. I love the sunlit door, the lock, the stereo, the exhaust, the speed. I love the drive. I love the feel. I love the whole experience.
Okay, so let's just sum it up.
It feels so good.
Basically, she just loves it all, you know. And you know, so you were explaining something to me. So Cynthia, she speaks Mandarin, all right, you know, and there's a word that you're trying to translate. What's that word in Mandarin you're trying to say? What, you know, describe this vehicle?
In Mandarin, it's called 质感. So I did use Google Translate to find a word to do a direct translate. It came out as texture.
Texture, but it's not a really direct good translation though, is it?
To me, I think it's overall feel.
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of, I was trying to explain it to you in my eyes, you know, what I'm thinking more like it's the X factor. It's just like the overall experience that you feel about it. You know, it's like wearing a nice designer suit, you know, a power suit that makes you feel good.
No, you feel special.
And it's just a combination of everything. And yeah, you can say, hey, who needs almost 600 horsepower boxy SUV that's going to cost you $250,000? Absolutely no one needs it. Okay, but there is something about it, and you know, and that makes it special, and it's that X factor or that Zhugan. How do you say it?
质感.
Zhugan, you know, that you have, you know, it's like I don't speak Mandarin. By the way, Cynthia has a channel on YouTube, by the way, and it's all in Mandarin though. But so if you speak Mandarin, or if you want to check out her videos, it's called Xin Drives. It's XIN Drives. And anyways, I'll leave a link there in the description if you want to check that out. So I think that pretty well wraps it up of the experience. And we could just go on and on. There's so many little things here, but yeah, it's just like all the touch points, everything is just, it's special. And you know what, one other thing, you touched on it, the Burmester stereo in this is superb. I don't know if it helps because of the shape of this vehicle, where it has a lot of straight, sharp angles that it can bounce off of. I don't know, or that's a special system in here. It's not. It's a stock system. It comes with a Burmester, and it's fabulous. And yeah.
I do want to mention one thing, because there's a spare tire cage.
Yeah.
At the back. When you back up, just make sure you leave enough room for that.
Yeah, that thing will it sticks out quite a bit, and they can do a little bit of damage if you hit something. So, anyways, that's it for the review. I hope you enjoyed our experience with the brand new G63.
I'm still excited driving it.
Anyways, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you on the next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.